Marathon Chads, we just got the mid-season update and Bungie knocked it out of the park in my opinion. There's so many changes here that bolster solo queue, bring down the most oppressive weapons, and greatly enhance the new and intermediate player experience. But in order to save you time, this is not just a patch note read. I've already read through the patch notes and I'm just going to identify the most important things that are going to impact your gameplay going forward into Season 2. And I'm starting with the game open because this change right here, the Carri, this is significant for new players or relapse players. As we all know, Marathon's biggest issue right now is the onboarding experience. A lot of players dip their toes in, they find learning the systems too oppressive, more so than the actual fighting and PvP mechanics. And since they don't give themselves enough time to learn the game, they tap out before they make it to the endgame maps. Well, the Carri is here to carry you into those endgame maps. Breaking down how this system works, it's all going to go through Arachne, and the point of this is to give you increased rewards for helping other players complete their contracts, and this includes players that are in random queue, not in your crew. You'll also get a thing called commendations, and these are actually new material that you can spend in the armory to get rewards into your loadout, as well as reputation packs, which I guess you'll just find on the map and exfil with, and they'll give you increased faction rewards, which, by the way, I don't know if many people know this, exfilling with certain treasures will actually give you faction rewards as well. I think the most obvious is chitin and nameless organs operating for new caloric. This is going to run from the mid-season patch until the end of Season 1. Like I said, the point of this is to accelerate your leveling process as a lower level player. Important to note as well, if you're a solo runner or a rook, you'll have notable opportunities to get commendations as well. So they have patch this system onto the solo experience. And a large part of this update is the bolstering of the solo player experience as well. I think now more than ever, it's worth giving solo runs a shot or rook runs a shot. Though with the rook, I think you have to spend some time leveling up the factions to get the true value out of him. And this is a very interesting one because I've had this experience before, especially as a rook, as a solo or rook. You'll earn extra commendation when you exfil with other players, regardless of if they're a rook, runner, or a full crew. This means people who aren't in your team, if you exfil with them, you can get increased rewards. Whether this is you sneaking in or being friendly, that's for you to decide. And with these rewards, you'll get a rotating selection of weapons, salvage crates, reputation packs, and even enhanced sponsored kits, which is pretty cool. I feel like something that's lost on the new player experience and that this will enhance. As you level up your factions, you're gonna have access to a lot of free weaponry, free heals, free mods every single day. And that's the biggest issue with new players, right? Is that it feels much more dramatic when you lose a weapon. Well, this should make it a bit easier at the lower levels, a lot less painful. Continuing down the collaboration path, we have a new feature for staying together. And this is if you're in a random crew. If even just one crewmate successfully exfils, you'll have the option to stick together if you had good synergy. And this is pretty cool because sometimes you meet a player who vibes well with you, but you don't know if you want to friend request someone the very first game you meet them. Run it back a couple times and then you'll know if you're ready for that long-term commitment. Now this next one is fantastic. New consumable called the Mercy Kit. You no longer have to drop your self-reses and have the other player pick them up for them to survive a situation. Sometimes, you know, you get jump scared, you come around a corner, you shoot someone down and then you regret it afterward, but you don't have the self-revive. There's a whole new item for this. And in fact, all rooks now spawn with a Mercy Kit by default, and there's definitely some meme potential here. Maybe becoming Angel of Mercy on Outpost or something. And more on Bungie's attempts to bolster the new player leveling experience, 15% boost to reputation earned for Arachne and new caloric on the first 5 ranks here. Additionally, the beginner version of Perimeter is better for new players, and it'll be available as solo only from now on, up to level 12. And I believe this was only accessible up to level 5 before and was trios as well. And obviously the point of this is to give more cushion to the new player experience. The thing to know is that when you run solos on these maps, it does not increase the amount of squads. On Perimeter, there's still only going to be 5 squads, but that's going to be 5 solo players, no rook infills as well. So that means there's going to be more than enough exfills for everyone. And realistically, if you're a new player, you're probably not leaving your drop spot, your chosen POI, right next to where you spawn. So this is actually going to be very good. I think this is going to help the player attachment rate. By the time you get through these first 12 levels, you should understand the game to a decent, skill. So looking in the armory at this Carri feature, we can actually see you can trade these commendations in for reputation with any faction, Traxxas, Mida, even Arachne. So you can use these boosts to emulate player kills, which is pretty interesting since this gives you access to the shotguns. Like if you're having a problem killing players, getting these Arachne commendations may be the method, especially if you're a solo player, because the double barrel shotgun, the Waster, is so quintessential. It's absolutely a cornerstone weapon still, even after the nerfs. And here we see the rotating rewards, a demolition, a blue bag, a self-revive, which is purple now, I guess spoiling some of the item changes we have. And you can even get key templates out of that. There's a lot of pressure when you're trying to run a key or trying to do a key template and figure out what the heck it is. So again, another cushion on that loot. And since we spoiled the self-revive change, which is actually going to make these a lot more rare, let me go to the factions real quick and show you another addition. Especially since we mentioned Arachne, we now have skins for the Arachne sponsored loadouts, which we didn't have before on launch. I think obviously the whole lore of Arachne is PvP. So it made sense canonically for them not to encourage you bringing in a sponsored kit to get PvP kills. They want you to put up stakes for the reward. They're super grimdark hardcore. Let's check them all out real quick. This is the triage with the white face. Bro, that's very Call of Duty coded, like the, what's his name? Ghost, I believe. We got the assassin as well. Pretty simple. I do like the red limbs though. It's like he dipped in blood. Destroyers is definitely the most red. This guy looks like a freaking Gundam right now. That's really cool though. It's like a whole other coating on this guy. Bonus points for the Arachne symbol on the mask too. With Thief, she keeps the white face, but she gets like a little bit of red undertone. This might actually be a better skin for her to hide with than the Cyber Acme skin. Or let me put it this way, Cyber Acme is for the maps of foliage. This is probably the skin you want to be using on Outpost and Cryo. And then Recon, big ass red head. I like the different color limbs though, the legs. Kind of wish they alternated it for the arms, right? Like having a red left arm but a red right leg. In the end, I'm just happy that we have Arachne skins now. Gives me another set to complete. The only one I haven't completed is New Cal, because for some reason, guys, I have bad luck with the New Cal sponsored kit. I lose almost every time I'm running that thing. This next change right here is going to dramatically increase the value of Perimeter and Dire Marsh loot. It might actually encourage some players to go back to these maps and just to collect this stuff, because we now have blue rarity unique weapons, and these functions actually come from the mods. The devs gave a really weird example here by using a gold weapon, but they actually put up a Twitter post. So we can see here, one of the mid-season's new uniques, the B33 Victory Lap, comes with a trigger discipline chip. And as you can see, being a unique weapon, the mod slots are actually locked for this thing. But it's going to provide plus stability, plus range, plus accuracy, reload movement. So what is the actual unique modifier here? I guess we won't know until we fire this damn thing. It just says performance under pressure. So in truth, this is probably the least interesting of these 11 uniques. In fact, this is probably kitted to feel as close to a Halo style battle rifle as possible, because personally, love this thing. The fact that it feels almost exactly like a battle rifle. Combine this weapon with the little volt thrower, and it's like you're playing old school Halo all over again. Railguns are also going to get a huge buff, but the most important part of this is that you can now hold their charge indefinitely. Previously, railguns would fire as soon as they reached max charge, which made them pretty much useless for taking long-range fights, especially against the long shot. Additionally, the base version of the railguns are gonna have more ammo in the mag and reduced charge time as well. And I guess Bungie just looked at the usage rates of the weapons and realized absolutely no one is using these things outside the first 1 or 2 times you mess around with them. So good changes. We might actually see railguns sneak their way into the meta, especially because we have massive nerfs to the SMGs. And while this doesn't seem like a lot, It's tiny little pokes and prods here. It's that death by 1,000 cuts thing. To start with, they're trying to bring the Copperhead up to par, giving its base magazine a few more shots, increasing its base accuracy at range, while simultaneously nerfing the Bully's aim assist and magnetism at range, because truthfully, this thing was like somewhat of an assault rifle. It was kind of competing with M7s, kind of competing with volleys. It did have some fall off, but the fact that you could nerf a Bully, hit people, or more importantly, bots from range, and no one would know what you were doing, that gave you a large tactical advantage. So now you're not going to be able to use it for that function. And it's important that I mention the long shot while discussing the railguns, because the long shot is getting a huge nerf from 90 rounds per minute to 60 rounds per minute. And I'm actually surprised this thing could fire that fast. You didn't really notice though, because you would have to reload the darn thing. And scrolling down, you'll see that thermals have been nerfed as well. Removed all deluxe rarity thermal optics from all archetypes across the loot table. What this means is there's no longer blue thermals. If you have blue thermals in your armory, they might be upgraded to purple. I'm actually gonna check that right now because I have a couple. Now this is hilarious because I still have my blue thermals on my weapons. So this is technically, this duelist lens is like the rarest thermal scope in the game now. You literally cannot find it in the floor loot anymore. This will definitely influence the Dire Marsh experience. It's going to make thermals and snipers a lot less prominent. Moving between the POIs is going to be a lot less risky as well. And you know, it's kind of odd because I got the feeling, even as a more experienced player, that Dire Marsh was fast becoming the filter. The fact that it had the most squads, it had the biggest disparity in loot. It was the spot where you'd load in with the greens and people would have their purple shields and their really good weapons. I'm actually super happy about these changes, though I think some players are going to find them kind of controversial. This next change is actually kind of sad, considering I haven't actually got my hands on a biotoxic disinjector yet, and most of the player base has not either. They're already nerfing the final boss weapon, the end game loot, the point of Marathon. They're nerfing this damn thing so much it's going to use more ammo. It's going to have reduced travel time, reduced damage when the grenade sticks to an enemy. That's a lot, 25 damage. Now, I understand this thing was broken, and there was actually a glitch where the mod on your M77 could turn this thing into an assault rifle that launched grenades. But at the same time, it takes you so long to get this weapon, it should feel overpowered when you get it. There should be a reward for grinding through these 4 maps to beat the endgame boss, because otherwise, what's the point in the end? Now, I can't say if these nerfs are going to make it useless, but I have heard some pro players saying that it definitely doesn't feel as good as it was on day 1. And here's the biggest killer: enabled self-damage on grenades. So this thing can now damage you. So you even risk hurting yourself, downing yourself when you pull this thing out of the vault, which is definitely gonna, you know, disincentivize some people from bringing it out and thereby risking it with other players. This is going to have the effect where we're going to see it less often in the lobbies that don't involve cryo storage, but as a consequence, people are not going to be able to earn this thing from other squads unless they're going into cryo storage. Which, man, I think it's a pretty cool experience when you find a gun that you've never had before because you managed to beat a better player, and most times when you run into someone with better shields than you, you're not gonna beat them. That seems to be the biggest factor, the difference between green to blue to purple. But if you manage to pull it off with a couple well-placed headshots, grenades, some good tactics, maybe tell me your thoughts in the comments. There's a couple new chips, and the way these all function is about escalation. As you'll see, damaging enemy combatants causes them to take increased damage. Downing or killing an enemy grants you and nearby allies increased movement. And this one, pocket change, reloading quickly after a kill drops ammo of that weapon's type. So this is kind of the inverse of hitting an enemy for them to drop random ammo. And of these 3, I think common enemy is going to be a huge game changer, because as far as I know, none of these chips actually enhance your damage directly. Some of them enhance your fire rate. The unique ones enhance how many rounds you fire in a given volley with, say, the Burt, for example. But man, the fact that you hit an enemy and then your teammate hits the enemy for more damage, and then your third teammate hits the enemy for even more damage, this is going to become pretty much necessary at the most difficult maps, I think. There's new implants as well, and these follow the same formula. Use a medical item grants you and nearby allies a stacking bonus to self-repair. Defeating hostiles grants you and nearby allies stacking bonus to hardware and firewall. Striking enemies with melee or knife attack grants you and allies stacking bonus to melee damage. So these are about team synergy. This is a matter of knowing your crew's playstyles, and these are definitely implants that are going to benefit from playing with people you know. Especially this Fight Club one. If you're running 3 assassins with the corresponding mods and chips on your guns that increase your melee, you could roll over whole lobbies with just melee using these chips. You were able to do that before through the faction upgrades, but now that those are nerfed, it's going to require you more work to get the loot needed for these melee builds, but that's probably good. That's a smart thing. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things I hated about very early Marathon was losing good guns to melee players. I forgot these two. Damage enemy with explosive, nearby allies gain large temporary boost to agility, and when shield breaks, nearby allies gain increased speed and heat capacity. These are the escape chips. These are the ones that I think are going to be really good at outposts when you're super close to people. You throw a bomb in, you get that speed boost to finish, or you're getting shot from behind and you need to get the hell out of there. And in the context of all these changes, I now want to talk about solo play in Marathon, because I think it's actually super viable now and possibly even fun. And one of the things that's going to make it more fun is the addition of depleted self-revive kits. And these can be found on the map during solo play only, and you cannot take these out on exfil. So what this means is you don't have to farm now purple self-revives to actually have a chance in solo mode. As long as you're going for the med boxes or you're going for high level loot, you're gonna find the depleted ones, which is gonna give you another chance. And of course, that was by far the biggest issue with solos, right? Is you have no one to rely on. It's such a risk to go out there and try to get high level loot when you could immediately get downed by an invisible assassin or a sniper or any number of dumb things, even just the bots themselves. Combine this with the fact that the beginner version of Perimeter is now solo only all the way up to level 12. The snipers are nerfed, the bully is a bit nerfed, the shotgun has also been nerfed as well, and they're just going to be less common. I think players that are really hoping for a true solo experience in Marathon are going to be pretty pleased with these changes, and I'll definitely be doing some solo content on this channel to test it out. Maybe I'll start a new account and do a 0 to millionaire run. That would be very interesting. Solo only 0 to millionaire. Let me know if I should do that in the comments. And the final change I want to talk about is actually a massive buff to the Recon shell. And Recon shell was definitely an underperformer. They were a bit glitchy with the drone. This thing, it seemed like it could never track enemies. It would constantly get caught on the geometry. So not only did they improve the tracking strength, but they've actually slowed it down so that it will stop doing that until it seeks a target, and if it doesn't find its target, it'll try to find a new one. I'm not sure how the logic of the drone functions. All I know is it was pretty disappointing. But now that might be changing, because the ultimate, that being the Echo Pulse, now distinguishes between enemy runners and enemy bots, which is going to be super important. This is something that Thief does not do. Thief can only tell you the highest level of loot in that particular enemy's loadout. So you're kind of guessing if that person has a blue shield or a purple shield. You don't really know for sure. At the same time, Signal Jammer no longer completely blocks the Echo Pulse. It's just going to disguise the player as a bot. Which, yeah, sure, you're disguised, but I'm still going to approach that bot as if it's a dangerous target. So you're not really hidden anymore with the Signal Jammer. This also means that Recon can find the rooks. Very interesting. You're not gonna get surprised when you're running Recon. These are huge changes, might actually make them viable, might make the Recon shell meta. Because as I explained in my faction upgrades video, the TAD upgrades work for the Recon. So you can increase the amount of pings and how long your pings last to pretty dramatic fashion. And since I talked about the Thief, I'll mention that the pickpocket drone getting a few nerfs. You can only put 1 claymore on the drone now. So apparently this was not a bug, this was a feature, but they've changed it. I guess they added a weight limit to the damn thing. They also reduced its health by 10 to 60, which is pretty good. This thing could fly very fast and very hard to hit. And to make that easier, the descent acceleration is more closer to the ascent. because for some reason you could just drop the bottom out of this thing and sink it to the floor in about a split second. And this one is a subtle nerf that Thief mains won't appreciate. Reduce the distance of the rarity highlight on the drone from 50 meter to 35 meter, which means you'll actually have to put this thing close to the POIs, and the bots are actually going to shoot it before you can see if there's good loot in there. There's going to be a lot more commitment as a Thief player with this. And those are the most important changes to Season 1 of Marathon. Tell me in the comments which one is most significant to you, which one is going to influence your playstyle the most. We're going to see major shifts in the most important weapons, the whole meta of this game, and I think it's going to really help new players, less experienced players, even intermediate players finally make it to those endgame maps and hopefully complete the compiler fight before the end of this season. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out this video next to me, where I go through all the faction upgrades and describe which ones are the most important to accelerate your growth to those top levels. I think you'll really get some benefit out of that one.